game where they swapped it around and the early game wasn't great and the mid game was really good. So if they can just get both those good parts in order, I think that they should be the favorite coming into this game. I think the early pressure from Ayoya has been incredible. However, Pentanet are a bit of a wild one in terms of what they draft, what they do, how they play. They're unbreakable mental. So I do think this should be a game that can provide us with not only an idea of how good these teams are, but also a lot of unorthodox gameplay, which I'm a huge fan of.
Always fear the team with nothing to lose, Chronicler. That is absolutely that. And already the LCO has got further than the region has ever gone before. All we needed was to completely nuke our region, and then we made it through. Well, Fiddlestick's also going to be banned away here from Pabu, of course, debuting that in his first game here at MSI, and that one is going to be taken away from him. So, interesting ban, to say the least, is now the final one to be locked in here for Pentanet.gg, and what's really come to mind for me is the lack of jungle bans outside of Fiddlesticks that have been taken off. So Morgana, we've got Udyr, of course, and the Rumble as center is going to be taken away. So, pick your poison, I think, is going to be the statement here. Will it be Morgana? Will it be Rumble? Or will it be just the tried and true Udyr? And it looks like Rumble is still the top of that tier list. The reason why I mentioned Udyr in the conversation is because we've seen him take down the Rumbles before. This is not necessarily an invincible pick.
And it's also a pick that I think, while its early skirmishing is really, really good in terms of setting up, for ganks, it doesn't provide as much, right? You only have the slow, you do have a lot of damage, but that in of itself is not enough. So I'd like to see it with solo laners that do actually have a consistent way of allowing that Rumble to get a lot of damage. There's also the possibility for a flex, which we haven't really seen, right? It's mainly been Rumble in the jungle, but there is no reason why this pick cannot be flexed.
True.
Specific matchups, you can take a top, but obviously a bit more risky. As we do see the Kai'Sa and the Udyr, neither of these very surprising. Udyr, as you pointed out, clearly outside of Morgana and Rumble, the big favorites. And it's actually interesting to me that the Morgana just gets completely ignored here, because I do feel like that pick is stronger than the Udyr. However, it's basically been permabanned, and Udyr is a comfort champion that junglers have been playing for literal months, and in that way it does make a lot of sense, whereas Mad, this is shaping up to be one hell of a teamfight draft.
Yes, and they don't really care about hiding any picks or anything like that. Both solo lanes and the jungle already locked up here with not a lot of flexibility available unless you want to go full crazy scientist on it.
Yeah.
As the Urgot, definite comfort here for Biopanther, going to be locked in. Fun fact for you, by the way, Biopanther is already an international champion, having won Rift Rivals in 2018. So there we go. Maybe this is the first time we've got past the group stage at MSI. However, some of our teams have already claimed international victory. So I had to say that.
I understand.
Yes.
You know, I understand. Close to your heart. And it has to be done, as we see the Tristana getting banned away. And this, of course, that has not been a single support picked up, unless we see Rumble support, but that's not something I really expect to see. That will be way out there. And outside of that, no bot laner picked up for the Lions yet, whereas the Kai'Sa, basically the strongest pick at the moment. Tristana, of course, a very popular counter pick into it. As we saw last game,
yeah, it didn't look like a counter pick, did it?
I mean, outside of laning phase, it didn't. Like, I think in laning phase, it went very well. Afterwards, Ghost didn't have an impact, and Beryl got caught way too many times. If you can avoid that here as Pentanet, you're going to be just fine. And it's interesting that a lot of these picks get kind of banned away, but the main thing that we see with the Kai'Sa, the Nautilus, can still just be picked up here on R4 for PGG. So I think at Pentanet they can pick up the Nautilus, they can keep hitting their mid lane and probably end up with something scaling. And there we go. I like that. I think that otherwise it's too simple, right? Yep. For Pentanet, it's super straightforward what you pick at that point in time. And the Victor also takes away a safe scaling pick from Chaz, and also one of, I think, the more consistent matchups into the Orianna, where you can actually match her scaling.
Well, we'll see exactly where Chaz wants to go. Of course, doesn't need to save mid lane for last pick, because of course it's just the bottom lane to go down, and that's a Kassadin. Of course, Chaz already playing Zed at MSI, you know, loves his Kiana as well, and now it's the Kassadin. We have seen this once before, didn't necessarily go super well. However, you know, this is an anti-mage mid laner, all right?
I see a magic damage jungler and a magic damage mid laner. Oh.
And I see a Vayne.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening in this draft, and I think that the Kassadin is actually lovely if you look at it in a vacuum into a Orianna and a Rumble. Like, I like the idea behind it, but I also feel like Pentanet, they don't really have great engage thus far. Kassadin makes sure that their composition, which was already short range, is now playing an extremely short range, basically outside of Kai'Sa, effectively full melee composition into a Orianna, Gnar, and Rumble, which is up. Yep, there we go. Full. Thank you very much.
We are extraordinarily short range here on the side of Pentanet.gg, and the Vayne is going to be able to shore up this mad composition. And I feel like this is a similar story to what we saw last time around, but this time it's Mad that are wearing the RNG shorts, which is a composition that's pretty standard. Maybe the Vayne might be a little bit more out there. Everything else absolutely tried and true, whereas Pentanet.gg are playing a very Pentanet style of composition. Of course, the Urgot there towards the top side of the map, and now Kassadin is the assassin of choice for Chaz in that mid lane, with Praedyth, of course, back on his Kai'Sa. Very, very comfortable for him there on the bottom side, but I kind of like the Galio delivery system in Rocket Pabu into the back line and really try and cause a ruckus. There is a chance that Pentanet could possibly make something happen here. However, they've completely sacked all mid pressure, right? So the early game is going to be really tough to navigate.
And I think, again, Mad Lions, one of the strongest early game teams that we've seen in their group, it's a bit of a risk. That's something that can definitely backfire, and it's going to be up to Pentanet to show that they can actually survive the early game against a team that has shown that they can dominate early game. On the other end, for Mad Lions, even if the early game goes well, really got to make sure that you don't make the mid-game mistakes, right? Because even though you have a Vayne, even though you have an Orianna, into a Kassadin, I'd still not feel very comfortable going into that in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting one as we make our way on to the Rift for game number 2 of the Rumble stage. Mad really wanting to shore up some of their inconsistencies. You heard the desk talking about it. They have been up and down. Their play style has gone all sorts of different ways, and we'll see whether that is going to be more consistent here as they move towards a potential knockout stage berth. That is what everyone is going to be vying for.
And if you do fall behind as Pentanet, your comeback potential is strenuous at best.
I was wondering which word you were going to go for there. I like strenuous. You know?
Yes. I
was going to say borderline impossible, but that's 2 words, so I guess you chose just 1 word, and I like that a little bit more.
Yeah, it's just really hard with a composition that relies on just diving in extremely aggressively, basically blowing someone up instantly. Even with not taking the casting into account, right? Like, you need to actually get onto the back line, which can be hard against a composition of Mad that can kite back decently well.
I also just need to make an aside here that Celestial Kassadin has been chosen, and that is the unofficial Oceanic skin. It took way too long to actually come out, so it didn't actually get called the Oceanic skin. We waited for it for a really, really long time. However, in essence, that is the correct skin. So Chaz gets points for that as well. Not going to count towards winning this game whatsoever. However, in my heart, it means a lot.
I do appreciate that you're giving us the, the Oceanic fun facts, showing us some of the depth of the region, some of the history. However, in terms of actually winning this game, as you say, it doesn't help you a lot, and I want to see to what extent Mad Lions can play around this early game pressure.
That's a big old flash in. Kazi immediately going to flash out as well, as the heal is also used. So that's trading up when it comes to the summoner spells, but definitely trading down when it comes to taking way too much damage here on the Kai'Sa. As Kai'Sa flashes forward, not going to get in range to stun up Praedyth, and now the pause is going to ensue. So already a lot of action there towards the bottom side. Not a lot of summoner spells remaining, just an Ignite there for the Mad Lions, and we've got both of them, I guess, for Space Vayne or Kai'Sa there on the bottom side. So, this is finally our time to shine, Chronicler, because of course, if you guys have ever watched the LCK before, we like pauses. We enjoy this. We will update you on exactly what has gone on. No idea just yet as to what the issue is over in Iceland, but as soon as we know, we will come back and we will tell you exactly what is going on. But we now get to talk about the fact that this is your first international cast, Chronicler. How are you finding it so far, 1 game in?
Lovely, to say the least. I am super excited to finally, you know, be a part of all the regions, all the stories, and be able to really shine a limelight on all the talent that we have within the League of Legends scene, right? Like, even if you look into this tournament, Pentanet came out of nowhere and basically became everyone's favorite team, regardless of whether they win or not, right? I think that the teaser that we saw earlier today, like moments like that, where it's semi-serious, it's not really, but also a little bit, and you see the death stares, like all of that is just absolutely wonderful.
Not to mention all the interactions that we get on social media as well, as Ender, of course, brought up Perks finding as many ways to talk down to Mad Lions as possible. That is only going to make the C9 Mad Lions game that is going to be coming up later all that more interesting, especially with how well Humanoid's been playing. Certainly has been a player that I've been impressed with so far this tournament. But, of course, the Rumble stage is where you really need to lay it all out there, and we'll see whether now on a matchup where he does have a range advantage in that mid lane could potentially find some avenues to victory against the Kassadin, which I'm very excited for.
You know the countdown is happening the moment a Kassadin is in game, and
is it the same sort of countdown as like a Kale countdown, or is it a different one?
I feel like the Kale countdown is also a little bit outdated because it's not. She's not actually. She got buffed again this pair on the 11.10, right? But on 11.9, like, Kale's countdown basically is a really long countdown to nothing. Yeah, it's just like the timer runs out and then you just sit there.
And then you take your dinner out of the microwave and it's like still cold. You're like, what the heck happened?
I thought I waited long enough.
Apparently, am I supposed to wait to 18? Do we get to level up that ultimate to 4? Is that a thing that can happen? No, it's not.
It's not, unfortunately. And I think Kassadin is not in the greatest of place at the moment, even in a situation like this where, like I said, you're still going to be sacking so much mid-pressure. I think Mad Lions are definitely going to punish that. But even against teams where you get away with it, I feel like it's still okay, but it doesn't provide the literally I hit 80 or I hit 16, I hit my level 3 ultimate, and it's basically over, right? I think there's a lot more counterplay available. And in that context of just everything that Pentanet has picked, this Vayne pick from Kazi it's such a I dare you to jump on me move, right? Because Vayne has very limited range. She has a lot of mobility with Tumble. She can self-build with Condemn. There's also plenty of opportunities for the rest of the team to kind of keep her safe. But simultaneously, it's a very short-range AD carry. And you're playing a short-range AD carry into Kassadin and Galio and Urgot. And all of those are terrifying. So I think that can create really cool situations, or you just get hit by one thing and you die.
Yeah, the thing that's really interesting to me is that, Vayne's short range.
Yeah.
And then Pentanet GG are like, hold my beer. We can be shorter range than you in every pick that they have, basically. Of course, Urgot, technically a range champion, but shorter range than good old Vayne. Kai'Sa might be able to stand up, but we've actually seen so many times the Vayne picked into, who I like to fondly call Space Vayne there on the bottom side of the map, because the lane matchup actually isn't too bad. But, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a slight update here. Apparently, during the bot lane fight, Kazi reported that his client minimized, which I think is a negative. I think that's bad.
I definitely chalked it up in the cons column.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, how do you do that? Is that like an accidental alt tab? Or something like that? Or the computer just having a little bit of a fumble there? That is what has actually happened. And hopefully we can update you as soon as we have any more information as to that one. As you can see, the Pentanet boys definitely looking in high spirits. Which is absolutely no change from the rest of the tournament forever. Is Pabu? I'm a little bit disappointed, to be perfectly honest. He has been bringing out a lot of his crazy picks. We saw the Fiddlesticks get banned, and I thought that might have baited him into picking something even more crazy. But decided to just go with the Udyr, which has been the standard pick into the Rumble. And of course, you do need to try and keep up as much as possible with that jungle clear. And it does make a little bit of sense, but I'm still just a little bit sad about it. But it's a really interesting composition that they've pulled out, despite the fact that, they have made certain sacrifices in order to get there. If this was no rush 20, like we like to talk about, you jump in at 20 minutes, everything's even, you're feeling pretty good with a comp like that. But it's how this early game's going to go that is going to change things, as Kazi's having, just going to hide from the camera here. He's minimized himself, maybe. I'm not entirely sure.
A little peekaboo there.
I like Kaiser is just not
like,
going to be phased by this whatsoever.
I gotta imagine at this point, Kaiser is also very well acquainted with Kazi's shenanigans, and he's just sitting there like, yeah.
Oh, man. But so far, I mean, all of the action has been there on the bottom side of the map, and I just want to get back in there so that we can find out what's going to happen next.
Do you really? I have on very good authority that you actually love pauses. So maybe
don't break the fourth wall. Come on, man. You got to try and keep it together. And you got to talk about the fact that we want to get back to MSI as soon as possible. But this is a difficult one to really figure out, right? Because if it's an in-game situation, you can have a look at like what the bug was, you know, things like floating Alistair, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that, you can clearly see this is a problem. The cow should not be levitating. Let's try and address that, you know, things like the trundle issues that we've had in the past, things like that. This is this is different. It may not necessarily be a client issue, but let's have a look. Do have another update for you. And as I say that it wasn't necessarily a client issue, it was.
It was.
League officials have determined that this was, in fact, a client issue, and we will be offering a chrono break to the Mad Lions at game time 2 minutes and 4 seconds right before the fight had occurred. So we'll see whether they actually take it. I'm not sure whether you necessarily want to. This is a really interesting situation, right? Because I wouldn't say that Mad Lions entirely lost out in that situation, but I think we will be able to update as soon as we can as to exactly what their response is going to be. And Mad Lions have, in fact, accepted. I really like this. All just coming straight away, you know. We're getting all of the information back to back to back. But yes, Mad Lions will accept the chrono break, so we are going to be going back in time, ladies and gentlemen, to 2 minutes and 4 seconds into the game. It's a long way. We, of course, made it to, I think, about 3 minutes and something. But now we're going to take, I think it was like 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think it was a lot.
This might be like the little babiest chrono break that we've ever had. A cute little one.
Yeah, it's really early.
Yeah.
Not a lot has happened yet, because normally, you know, these are also really great opportunities to take a look at what do we see in terms of jungle pathing, to what extent was there early plays, how the compositions worked out. None of that has really been relevant, because it was still on level 1.
Yeah.
And they were skirmishing.
And there was some skirmishing.
Yeah.
We could just break that down over and over again for as long as we like. Of course, chrono breaks aren't necessarily an instant thing. It's not like you snap your fingers and Echo's like, all right, let's do it. And that's not a very good Echo voice. I don't necessarily know how to do Echo's voice. But it's not like he does it instantly, right? We do need to put in some time in order to make sure that everything is sorted out and get all of the players back in there again. As you can see, looks like it's not affecting Pentanet too much. We've, you know, with issues like this, there is like that mentality conversation that you generally need to have. But with the fact that both of these teams are looking extraordinarily jovial over in Iceland, I think that everything is going to be absolutely fine as we just reset things. And also, no real statements have been made so far in the game, right? It's like you've got like a trade going a little bit wonky there on the bottom side. Everyone's lost every summoner spell, things like that. But otherwise, there's nothing really to react to whatsoever on both sides. So not going to be too worried about it. And hopefully we don't have any more minimizing clients. That's certainly something that you don't necessarily want to happen, and definitely a curious one. We've had a lot of different reasons to have pauses. The notorious toilet issue that we've had over here in the LCK, one of my personal favorites. Shout out to Spo TV for that one. Having it on the screen as well in a lower third was a beautiful touch. But this is a very different one. And so here we go. Back in again, as we have gone to 2 minutes and 4 seconds, as you saw a few seconds ago. And we'll see whether the trading is going to be similar than last time. Of course, Kaiser now has his flash back again. And Decoy does not. Ignite available for the Galio. Pentanet.gg will just push in this wave. And we're looking for a little bit of a cheater here on Praetor's side. Interesting that he's going to go for that one. The protection there of Decoy is in goes Kaiser. Immediately the Shield of Daybreak will be broken as Kazi comes on forward. The flash, and Praetor will keep himself alive. But Pentanet.gg now in a real rough spot here on the bottom side.
And they need to immediately back the one saving grace that is his cannon wave, so they have a little bit more time. Will maybe miss out on a little bit less. But as a whole, that's a very unfortunate situation because you get a good trade, right? As you said, you trade up in terms of summoners, but then in the extended trade, you still get punished pretty aggressively. Decoy doing his very best to freeze the wave here. Unfortunately, I think the casters might be fine there, in which scenario Praetor is going to be very happy. Chaz getting pushed in here in aggressive fashion, as you would expect.
Yep. Pabu here towards the top side of the map, just going to be grabbing the first scuttle of the game. As we can see, he has completed his full clear. Rumble just behind him, and will be moving towards the bot side scuttle himself. Where Pabu goes is going to be a question, as Chaz down to half health. This might be the avenue.
And we see Kaiser already roamed as well. In this scenario, it's to help his jungler secure. Of course, Rumble, no way to really get rid of the shield, and with a Leona, that will be a lot easier. But in case of a gank, you know, if Pabu did decide to swing down mid lane, you can be ensured that the Leona would also pay a quick visit. Oh boy.
Oh dear. And looking at Praetor's face, I think this might be a pause on the side of the Mad Lions. Yeah, look, we got like a solid 3 minutes of gameplay there. Did pretty well. We'll have to see exactly what has happened here, as obviously something is. I think it's still with Kazi, as you can see. Still just Ref hanging out behind him, trying to figure out exactly what has happened, and let's see what has actually gone wrong this time around. Hopefully, this one is going to be cleared up ASAP, so that we can get this one all sorted out. You did have a look just a little bit in that mid lane. We are going to stick on topic just for the next little while before we completely go off the rails. As hi, Kazi. We'll see whether it is actually him that did pause it. Hopefully, he's not going to have the minimizing client yet again. But yeah, you saw that the Kassadin was getting shoved in as we expected, and not exactly having the greatest of times. When will that matchup be something that Kassadin can actually enjoy? Because you're not picking Kassadin into the Orianna just so that you can fall behind forever, right? There are opportunities for the Kassadin to win, right?
Yeah, yes and no. I think that the problem with Kassadin is, especially against a pick like Orianna that has such sufficient reliant and safe wave clear, you are going to have to reach a point where you're actually able to threaten her, right? Because you're melee, and you have some wave clear, but it's not great. You know, it's never going to be fast. You're never going to be able to, until you get some levels into your ultimate, you get some items, you're able to actually stack it up and use that. Clear out waves reliably, and that is a really big problem, because this is something that we've seen basically every team utilize more and more as this jungle meta has developed, is get mid lane prio to make sure that you can help with the scuttles, that you can secure vision for drakes, that you can help your jungler pick up a raptor camp, pick up another one, snowball those kind of leads. And that's also, I think, one of the main reasons why we never see things like the Kassadin anymore, and why it's the Orianna, the Victor.
Yeah, it can be difficult, but ladies and gentlemen, we are going to throw it over to the analyst desk, and they can take you through what we've seen thus far in this game.
Thank you, Atlas. We've seen so much. We've really just seen like one trade, I guess, in the bottom lane.
You know, I bet they wish they had an analyst desk for LCK, because when those pauses get long, it can be tough to fill for 45
It's true,
minutes.
but they do a phenomenal job, to be honest. Don't have the luxury always of throwing to someone else, but that's great. We can get our analyst's opinion on the draft that has been fielded. However, Ender, you did come out of a referee role before you were a caster. Tell us about these kinds of situations. Obviously, you can't talk, I guess, what is it, in the first couple of minutes, or what's the situation?
Yeah, I mean, usually for the first like couple minutes or so, they're told like, don't talk. You know, if they say something, it's like, hey guys, shut up, be quiet.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, once it's determined, usually that it's not like an audio issue for one player, and like the issue's been communicated, then everyone's allowed to start chatting.
I see.
Again. So once it's fair for both sides to talk evenly, that's when we sort of invite them back in.
Yeah, a bit of an annoying situation because you had the chrono break, and as you said that they retake all the game that has been played, so if it's early in the game, that's easier. It's concerning when immediately after the chrono break is completed, there is another pause by the same person.
Yeah, the good thing is it probably shouldn't be another issue with chrono break. Like if there was an issue with chrono break, then it would be like doomsday potentially. You have to like remake the game.
We didn't say that.
Yeah, we didn't say that.
Not
We
say
didn't
that.
say that though. Karzi just having some issues there.
Yeah.
And of course, they can also like look and make sure that he didn't like add keystrokes. Like you can determine that he didn't actually hit Alt Tab or something because all that's recorded. So yeah, Carzzy not Alt Tabbing in the middle of a play to get a free.
Oh, that's actually good to know. I always wondered that because like how could you actually detect if someone did just press their flash by accident or because
the power of technology.
Do they have to give beforehand if where they put their flash and stuff and where they put their summoner spells, is that like recorded so that if it's out of the ordinary?
So I think it's technically recorded. I don't think they have to like give that, but you can like find that out by looking at the league settings. But they have like a tool that tells you what every button they've clicked.
The age-old debate. Okay, very, very interesting. Aside from the referee knowledge, Dagda, what did you make of the compositions that these teams fielded?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of interested to see how Pentanet play out their strategy because it feels like this is a very Pentanet style of game, right? Where you've got the likes of the casting coming in for Chaz in the mid game, you get that late game scaling, but it also you've got like a facilitator alongside in the Galio, which gives you the opportunity to dive that back line. And when you're looking at, Carzzy, who's going to be relatively short range in this Vayne, same we're looking at Humanoid on this Orianna. I think if you can get to that late game stage, you have such a big opportunity here for Chaz.
I'm sorry, I have to cut you off, my dear.
It's
going to be extra awkward because there's a little bit of delay, but we have to go back into the game because the players are ready. Thank you, Dagda.
Thank you so much, Sharks, and everybody else over there. I'm really glad that we managed to get the referee lesson from Ender there as well. This is actually the weirdest thing ever. Normally, we over here at the LCK would just talk forever. But having someone to throw to is like the weirdest experience. You're exactly right, Ender. Now, back into it, everything hopefully going to be absolutely short up here for Carzzy. Not going to be minimizing his client or anything like that. And it's as we kind of expected, right? Kassadin getting pushed in the mid lane. And the jungle is just trying to farm as quickly as possible. And once again, we've got our bottom lane that was a bit spicy the first run through, but in this particular timeline, hasn't necessarily been as aggressive.
And honestly, for Pentanet, this is a pretty good situation. Oh, Prative.
And immediately, we've got the double taunt to come through from Decoy, immediately able to answer the Zenith Blade, and then backing away. So we're all fine. However, on the top side of the map, Elyoya gonna flash on forward, misses the first harpoon, lands the second, but BioPanther makes it to his inner turret just fine.
And I was gonna talk about the fact that thus far, Mad Lions haven't really been punishing that mid lane, Kassadin, and they do it right here because the fact that Humanoid was able to crash such a huge wave in on the Kassadin means that he can teleport topside without any repercussion as the teleport comes back
Speaking
in.
of teleported top lane, this is with repercussions as BioPanther is going to put Elyoya underneath it, and everybody else just leaves. All right, that's one way of doing it. Is Kaiser finally going to catch up with Prative? Carzzy locks down the kill in the 2v2 on the bottom side of the map to answer.
And that's a kill on the Vayne. That's one you'll take any day of the week. The kill on topside also gone to BioPanther, and I think he would have loved to get that on Chaz. Just the teleport from the Kassadin in of itself is deterrent, meaning that Mad can't really go through with the topside play. However, Mad Lions bot lane say, that's all fine and dandy, but we will punish you so hard because there's not a huge wave that is shoved into this lane that Prative won't get. And this lead on this Vayne is getting insurmountable, and Kai'Sa does not really have the range to just say, okay, Vayne, I'll keep you at bay.
Yeah, and a lot of the weaknesses of Vayne are shored up with the fact that this is such a short-range composition out of Pentanet.gg. But here's the replay of that top lane for a second, because we've got some action here in the mid lane as well, as Humanoid gonna get that shockwave onto only Chaz as the flash does eventually come out. And that is going to save Humanoid's life, but not going to be as safe there in that mid lane, especially now with Chaz at level 6.
And Papu wants to go for the Scuttler here, needs to respect. Kaiser is also coming.
Yeah, does manage to take it. Smite is going to be one there as a level 6 gain by the Udyr, which does absolutely nothing, but I do like to talk about when levels do come in. Elyoya makes his way towards the top side of the map because there are camps there. And Prative now back towards this bottom side with a big wave to crash towards Carzzy.
And this might open up a play, but this is the problem, right? With the Kassadin, even in windows like this, Kassadin is really good at getting kills this early on in the game. If he has some setup, if you get him some last hits, get him going early, it's great. But right now, he only has a tier. You can't really rely on him for any sort of jungle fight. Spabu will definitely be spotted there, and that might open up a possible play on top side here. Well, Ayoya is currently clearing, and now pathing towards BioPanther.
Yep, just going to walk away from that blue buff, as you can see, over the wall there as BioPanther is pushed way too far forward, now realizing that he wants to go in. The Disdain not going to connect, though, as Armor's just trying to kite this one out, and he's going to be able to do so successfully. That is the kill going over to the Gnar, as Pentanet.gg will start off this Dragon, at least as a consolation prize.
And it's nice, but it is with your jungler on bot side as BioPanther. You want to try and punish, right? You want to try and get some damage done on Armored, shove the wave in instead of the freeze that was being set up there, which is the reason why Armored is so far ahead currently. As yet another fight in bot lane.
More aggression, another double taunt though there from Decoy, just to try and get Kaiser away. I mean, the target on this guy's back at the moment is just ridiculous. Mad are really diving on top of him every opportunity that they get as the ward goes down. Armit's in a little bit of trouble here as the Disdain's good. Gnar into the wall though as the crush comes out, and Armit is going to be able to make his way to safety.
It's a little scary there for a second. If the Fabian Dev was available, might have gone differently, but in this scenario not enough damage available. Very nice CC chain from Armit. And that ultimate is not something that you really have to worry about. We'll get that back momentarily. And yeah, Praetive and Decoy have really been getting battered by Carzzy and Kaiser. And this is more akin to the early game that we saw from Mad in most of their games, right? Where they are actually able to find the 2v2s, where they're able to find the early pressure.
There's another one. Solarflare comes out this time as well, as Decoy is going to be the target. Justice Punch is interrupted by the Leona so beautifully. And that is going to be Galio taken down. The first time that they don't go for Praetive, they managed to grab that kill, as Decoy still had flash.
And as mentioned before, the problem with the Pentanet bot side is that this is not a bot side where you can now play and try and hold off a little bit. Galio, it's go in or do nothing. And you're playing against the Leona, right? And now Carzzy is ahead, which means they can just all in every single time. And there's not really a way for you to win that. Either you need help from Chaz, you need Pabu to visit, but Pabu, understandably, is like, I'm not going to gank a losing lane, right? That can backfire immensely. They pick up the Rift Herald on top side, but unless they can get a first turret bot with that, that's not a trade that you'll take, because Carzzy getting further and further ahead, already up to an 800 gold lead. And on a Vayne, that's not great.
No. However, also a Kassadin having a lead is not necessarily great if you're facing off against him either, as Chaz is going to have his back interrupted, but does of course have Rift Rock, so he's going to be absolutely fine. Humanoid will just delay the Kassadin's journey back into that mid lane as we have a look once again at Decoy being taken down.
And it is just super clean here from the entirety of Mad Lions. They set up their play. There's no level 6 available yet, right? So even in the scenario where it is, the Galio ultimate doesn't really provide that much in terms of combat if you're not the one setting up the play. And another dive here on top side.
Yeah, that's a big Gnar into the wall there, as BioPanther is going to be able to get himself out of the way. There's the flash as Elioya trying to catch up. There are pesky minions in the way. There's the heroic entrance as the flash forward onto Armit. The taunt comes down, and Decoy's just going to do it by himself. Pabu gives up on him, and Elioya now has to flash to get out of the way of Pabu, who's running after him as best he can. But thankfully, Scrap Shield for Elioya is going to be able to keep him safe. Chaz underneath his turret, exactly where Kassadin's like to be in a lot of the cases, as Praetive finds Kaiser. But yeah, this is Mad utterly destroying the bottom lane.
And Mad is just making use of the complete lack of prio and how far behind the Pentanet lanes are to dominate. Yes, sure, Armor dies there, but it doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things. You get free plates on mid side because Humanoid has the shove, Chaz can do nothing. Just clearing the wave gets his entire health ball taken. Praetive gets zoned of experience, gets zoned off of the wave, and that's not something that you can really do anything against as Pentanet now that you are behind, right? You are waiting for that Kassadin. You can still find skirmishes. Fabian Dev is an incredibly strong team-fighting skill, and maybe once Chaz hits 11, you can try and make some plays, but with how far ahead Praetive and Decoy are, I'm expecting to see Mad continuously use that pressure and translate it to plates and kills on the rest of the map.
Yeah, and it's now a 2.5k gold lead here as well for Mad, so Pentanet, this is it's a curious comp, it's a fun comp, but it's not necessarily working out the way that they wanted it to so far into this game. Chaz going to be getting a little bit more gold there from the plates, as Shirley does smash her head into the outer turret mid. And Kaiser continues his reign of dominance here on the bottom side of the map for Mad. Elioya, I feel like this is the first time he's been down here. It's just been Carzzy and Kaiser taking control just by themselves.
And I think we're now going to start to see Pentanet run into the issues that we said earlier.
Oh,
That's
goes wide.
yeah. But
Looks like blue buff should be going over to Chaz. Nothing to see here. Don't worry, Chronicle, it's fine.
But it's still a level 10 Kassadin, right? And like level 10 Kassadin is basically a glorified Costamine, and he will level up, okay?
Yeah.
Eventually he'll get there, but he's not quite there yet. And even level 11 is not the spike that you're looking for. And I'm just happy to see Mad continuously look. You don't actually need to go in for that invade, right? You don't actually need to make that play, because just you being there, just you pressuring, gets you, yet again, played on top side. And this pressure play from Mad on every single lane around the entire map is now going to get them the first turret blood. That means that this subsequent fight is going to be way easier for him than it otherwise would be. And as Pentanet, you're basically forced to start like contesting objectives. Not this one necessarily, but every subsequent one for sure, from such a big deficit. And that is terrifying with a comp that is this short range.
Yeah. And Pentanet.gg, they are losing in every single lane. However, they were winning in the river. Managed to take a couple of the Rift Heralds as well as the first Dragon. Second one will be going over to El Yoya here pretty comfortably, as they could also potentially set up for a dive here bottom side, but Kaiser decides just to let them be for now. And this is just a lot of Pentanet trying to stem the bleeding, put on as many band-aids as possible, and find an avenue back into this game, because often, you know, when advantage is being taken, there's another one to be taken by the other team across the map. That just hasn't happened this game.
And the real problem for Pentanet is that, yes, you have the Kassadin, but Kassadin, even with how good his scaling is not like a be-all, end-all solution. If he dives in and he doesn't instantly gip Kazi, like, you're still gonna have a huge problem, right?
Yeah.
Almud is really far ahead. Narkin wins teamfight single-handedly. You have one of the strongest teamfight ultimates in the Rumble Equalizer. You have Humanoid, who is just casually sitting on an insane amount of gold. Like, look at both Armored, Kazi, and Humanoid. All three of them can carry teamfights, especially this early on in the game. And I think as Pentanet, you're just looking at like, well, just hold on. I don't know how.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are we waiting for, actually? You know, does it actually get better than this? That's the thing that's really, really scary here. Because like you say, the money's on all the right people here on Mad's side. And I just don't see where the upside comes from for Pentanet right now.
You also don't really have ranged wave clear.
I mean,
that's
they don't have
also a
ranged
problem.
anything, Chronicler.
They have a Kai'Sa, okay? Surely she's not known for how well she does in terms of
quickly,
range.
Praedyth, get to the front line. We need you to clear these waves out for us. That is probably not what you want to be talking about. As Pabu finds himself the Chilling Smite here onto the Rumble. There's the heroic entrance. They grab the knock-up. Justice Punch is good too. Two-man shockwave, though, as Chaz comes on over, and Pabu's the one that's able to grab the kill on the Rumble. It evens out the kill score. Just don't know whether it's actually solved enough of the Pentanet problems.
And it's a really nice pick. It does use the Galio well. And we've been joking about Pentanet, right? But you can still force these man advantage situations with the Kai'Sa, with the Galio, both of which have semi-global ultimates that really easily allow you to get something. But then, here's my question. Is that actually worth it? Sure, you get a kill on Oyoya, but it goes to Pabu, not to Chaz, who is not able to use the money nearly as efficiently, as Pabu might be forced to flash out here if he's not careful.
Yeah, well, Amit, let's see what he can do. Doesn't exactly have much of an arbar. The flash on forward is Biopanther coming on in as well. Kaiser in a bit of trouble, but he's very durable, and all 5 members of Pentanet want this second Rift Herald. I think I spoke in error before, as that is going to be Kazi 1v1ing the Kassadin there on the bottom side of the map. Not something I would necessarily expect. The Shockwave's going to be flashed there from Biopanther, and unfortunately for Pentanet, they can't actually get anything out of this one. Amit is going as far deep as he possibly can, but that's going to be a fear beyond death, and Biopanther will be able to put a stop to it. That being said, that's the end of the good news for Pentanet.gg.
It's a crazy mid-game. I think that Chaz got interrupted while trying to teleport. Kazi maybe found him stunned into the wall. I'm sure we get a replay of that later on, but yeah, Pentanet, it's nice that you get the kill on Kaiser, but you use so much trying to kill Leona. Mad just bide that time. The fact that Ahmed then afterwards goes in, doesn't actually slam the people into the wall amidst the jump is a bit unfortunate. But in the long run, I still think this is a trade you take as Mad, right? You get the side lane turret, you get the kill. And yeah,
spotted out, just condemns into the wall. Okay, not a lot that you can do there.
Very unfortunate, as in the end, you know, you get the solo kill in your vein, which means that Kazi's going to be even more out. You get the turret, funnel more gold into her. You pick up the Rift Herald. The 2 kills that you give up don't really make that worth it for Pentanet. if you want to be really positive, and I know how much you love Pantanet, Atlas, so I want to give you a shimmer of hope here.
Okay,
Every minute that you're in this game, also it gets you where you want to be, right? Like, just get Chess to 16, try to use the sideline pressure with your semi-globals, and make something work from there. Is that a goal?
Right, okay, so we're saying that if the game is still going, there's a chance that Pantanet.gg haven't lost yet.
There is a chance. Yes.
That's perfect. I love that. That is perfect logic.
Okay.
It's brilliant.
I'm glad.
As long as the Nexus is still alive, Pantanet.gg have not lost. As the equalizer goes down towards the top side, and BioPanther is going to just walk away. That is going to be his exit of choice. Works out relatively well. And of course, equalizer is on about a 4-second cooldown. It is pretty silly. As Shirley will bonk her head into this inner turret on the top side, and BioPanther in a bit of trouble. He is going to get stunned up. Disdain is good, buffered, just to make sure that he can create as much distance as possible. The damage has been done. As now Praetor is just going to get found out by Humanoid, just standing his ground though, and 1v1s the Orianna, soaks all of the burst and says he doesn't care.
Beautifully played by Praetor there, not even level 11 and still able to just win that straight up 1v1. And here you see one of the reasons why that Kai'Sa is so feared. We joked about her not having the longest range. What she gets in return, as a BioPanther should not go in.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah,
you can probably continue.
Yeah. Sorry about that, BioPanther. But the trade-off for that is that her assassination potential, especially in isolated situations, is insane, right? If you get a full isolated Q combined with a plasma proc, that's just not a lot that an Orianna can do. A little bit over-enthusiastic from Humanoid there. And it leads to a Drake, and a Drake means that Matt's going to take longer to scale up.
Yeah.
And that buys time for Pantanet.
I'm going to put it in the pros column 100%, as it is under a 5,000 gold lead, and perhaps that is going to be extending. Armut down to about 50%, trying to find the safety of his inner turret. Kai'Sa comes down as well as Pabu. Gives him a bit of a slap. Praetor's once again going to find Humanoid, this time not going to be able to grab the kill as he turns around, looks for that one auto. As Kai'Sa gets on in there, the equalizer is going to give Praetor an exit, but it's via the Death Chamber, unfortunately. Pantanet.gg are going to back away from the bottom side of the map. And this game is certainly doing some things right now, Chronicler, as Armut teleports in to look for a kill, but Decoy makes it out. Chaz may not be as lucky as 3 members of MAD have found him and will be able to put the Kassadin away as well. Elyoya not even able to really get in on the action. As Kazi, he's playing the game for the win. He's going to be able to take down the turret in the mid lane.
And there's a lot of chaos here. There's a lot of cross-map plays. There's people getting caught in side lanes. There are almost kills. There's solo kills. There's 1v1s. There's attempted 1v1s where you get punished. But in the end, it's Mad that wins all the trades, right? The gold lead keeps extending. They're the one who actually pick up the objectives. They're the one who actually get the turrets. And while it's not the cleanest look, it does continue the trend of Mad. It might not look the cleanest, but they get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually feel like Mad have played this one out very, very well, being able to find advantages exactly where they need them throughout the early game and this mid game as well. As we tick past 20 minutes, it's 7,000 gold the lead, and it seems to be only extending here for the Mad Lions, who have really, I mean, this team looks real good right now as they debut in the Rumble stage. Armut here on the top side of the map is just going to shore up this top lane of minions, and we'll see where the vision is going to be placed next. Because, of course, 3 minutes on this next Ocean Drake. Of course, you know, Pantanet.gg, they want to be able to grab another one, get to that soul point, but I don't think that's where the conversation's going to be. It's going to be about the Baron.
And I think as Mad, you have so many tools to start with this Barony. You have all the hard engage in the world. The only thing you really need to do is to make sure that Pantanet doesn't get one of their godlike engages on a single target, right? That's really what you're afraid of. Isolate someone in side lane, throw a killer instinct, throw a heroic entrance, blow someone up, and then play the rest of the fight with just the potential to all in. Because if you play it slow as Mad, I don't think there's a lot that Pantanet can do. With this gold deficit, you can't really just hard force a 5v5 and go from there. As Chaz, you need to be careful.
Yeah, sees Armut just in time to Rift walk away. Still going to take a little bit of damage there as the boomerang comes down, but now Mad find their avenue into the top side jungle of Pantanet.gg, but that one's real dark as in goes Decoy, out goes Decoy. Now Mad know exactly where they are. Solar Flare is going to miss, just gets a bit of a slow onto the Galio. They do back away yet again. Flash on forward, two-man taunt comes on in. It's Pabu trying to stun up everyone. The heroic entrance is beautiful, but it's not going to be enough because he dies in the meantime, but they do get the Vayne. And that is the main thing. Support for AD, you'll take that as Pabu just runs into 4 people. That is not ideal, my friend. And Elyoya is now on a rampage as a result.
That was such a good assassination by Pentanet, and then the jungler of all people walks into a brush. I don't even know if they can contest, because as mentioned, the deficit is sizable. Operation Kill the Vayne was successful, but they do give up basically everything from that point onwards. Now the Baron, a free pickup here for Mad Lions, who surely are going to be knocking on the doors of some inhibitor soon.
Yep, and the backs are going to start the timer here for the Red Bull Baron power play as well, because this could be the beginnings of some nails in the coffin. Pentanet.gg. As look, it started so well here for Pentanet, but in our new Axe Effect replay, just Pabu, man.
It's beautifully played as well, right? Because they layer everything on top of a Fear Beyond Death and Praetive diving in. But then that operation is successful, but as mentioned, that in itself is not enough. If you trade 1 for 1, it's kind of dicey if then one of your players, in this case Pabu, runs in and gets taken down. It's understandable from Pabu's point of view as well, right? Because you want to try and secure vision. You want to make sure that they don't just straight up run to Baron, and I think that might have been in his expectation, but now you are staring down a terrifying Baron because you have no turrets, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing to buffer these shots. On the plus side, they're still in the game, and Chaz is level 14, so...
Your optimism is absolutely beautiful.
Yes. Is it warranted? I'm not 100%
it's certainly,
sure.
It's a dire situation, right? But, you know, they're still in the game. You told me that if they're still in the game, there is still a chance, as now they're trying to defend the inhibitor turret here on the bottom side of the map. Baron keeping all of these minions alive, and I think that Pentanet is just going to have to give this one up. Armit comes on forward, Stride Breaker's on in. That creates the space in order to take this one down. Pabu's going to take the opportunity to at least clear out this mid wave, but the rest of Mad trying to follow on up here, and he's not able to kill all of these minions just yet. Feels like Pentanet, they need to do something, right? But I think even if they try, is it going to go well?
Your Harding H is not that reliable, right? Pabu last time was able to get in from the back, but it literally is either Chaz or Pabu like getting in there somehow, and then you can layer. Your secondary initiation is really good, but your primary initiation really isn't, and that makes it so much harder. That's why Matt can just move forward with impunity.
Yep, flash on out here from BioPanther as Solar Flare is going to go wide due to that. The Equalizer comes down. Predator takes a fair bit as a few ticks do land on top of the Kai'Sa, but it's done exactly its job as the second inhibitor is going to fall here, and Mad slink back into the Pentanet jungle.
And I think Elyoya, not the greatest start on the Rumble, but I think he went from 0-2-1 to currently 4-2-2 with a 400 gold bounty, really bouncing back extremely well on this Rumble. And ultimates like that might look a little bit silly because it doesn't actually threaten anyone, but you don't need to threaten anyone, right? You just need to buy space, you walk up, you kill the inhibitor, and it provides you with so much pressure on the map. And it looks like Mad, they realize that all they need is just pressure. A Hail Mary flank might be coming in from Pentanet, because otherwise I think they're going to lose this next inhib as well.
Yeah, exactly. They might be sacrificing their Nexus in the end, and that is exactly not what you want to happen. As Elyoya, he's wrapping all the way around. Chaz looking for an opportunity. 3-man taunt there from Decoy, but he's immediately wiped off the face of Summoner's Rift. Armit gets a great defensive ultimate as well, and Mad's wallets are way too heavy. BioPanther goes down. It's a double kill for Kazi, and Praetor, he loves that emote, but unfortunately in this instance, it's not showing anything good. That's the ace, and that is going to be the game for the Mad Lions, who debut onto the Rumble stage absolutely beautifully.
And in terms of kills, you know, there were a couple of 1v1s that didn't need to be taken, but the core thing is, as Mad have done, they get the win, and their objective control, I think, was beautiful here, because even when there was a 1v1, when there was a sideline that didn't go great, they were able to pick up plates, they were able to pick up dragons, they were able to pick up objectives, and snowball that into an incredibly comfortable win.
Yeah, it was very, very nicely done from Mad Lions. I feel like there wasn't really any stage of that game where it felt like they weren't in full control. It began on that bottom side of the map. We've seen Vayne picked here so far at MSI. Did not work out whatsoever this time around. Looking pretty dominant as Mad take a well-deserved bow. Their first game is now in the books. Let's see whether that is going to continue to find victory as we move further into the Rumble stage here at MSI.
And this really sets the stage for that game later today, right?
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait because I'm really happy to see while Mad was scrapping a lot, and I want to go back to this because I think that it is something that was missing from the early games, that consistency in terms of picking up the objectives and actually making sure that the plays that you set up around the map are not that high risk that you can get punished for them, because basically they were never really punished here, right? It was like I said, there were kills left or right for Pentanet, but Pentanet were not able to really move towards the base of Mad Lions really at any point in this game.
Yeah, and I found it really difficult to figure out exactly where the way in for Pentanet was that game as well, right? Like, we spoke about the draft, like the fact that it was fun, but where are the win conditions coming from, things like that. And we talk about narrow win conditions a lot. This was one of those type situations. But our Oppo player of the game is going to be Kazi on that Vayne. The original is the best. Space Vayne need not apply. And Kazi playing this one very, very nicely from minute one.
Because it was this continuous pressure that really enabled Mad across the rest of the map, right? This was just a straight up 2v2. There was no jungle interruption. It was just continuous pressure, continuous prio, and continuous kills, getting Kazi out to the point where he could leverage his pressure literally throughout the rest of the map to the point where it didn't matter if he died, as we saw, because he died once when literally the entirety of Pentanet dove for him, and it was still not enough.
Yeah.
Just killing him wasn't enough, and in of itself, getting to him was really, really hard. And this is really impressive, even more so, because as we said at the beginning of the game, this is a short-range character into a team with a Galio, you know, with a Kassadin, with an Urgle, with an Udyr, all these picks that make it really hard for you to find that space that Vayne so loves.
Yeah, exactly right. And I actually feel like it's the perfect time to pick the Vayne as well, right? We mentioned the fact that there was a huge lack of range and things like that. So congratulations to the Mad Lions. But up next,